horse drifted alarmingly in the betting was, Felsted in the morning continued to drift. It was late on the exchanges to lose. It was something you'd see in a Dick Francis novel, Charles Buttons.
The ground is soft. It's heavy. It's soft on times. It's heavy. Okay.
Hello and welcome. Good evening. Yes, it's the Sunday sermon time. Plenty to talk about this week, of course, because of the DRF Racing Festival taking place. But not just that. As always, we provide a little bit of fun, and there's plenty of questions, some real good ones. In fact, we've had the most questions we've ever been given prior to starting a sermon. And to chew the fat with me, as always, are my two partners in crime, Jonas Leng and Chris Lowe Malvo. Good evening.
Good evening.
Any of them questions, why are you here?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Let's get on with the DRF then and go through that this weekend. John, I've got a feeling you weren't right impressed with the whole shebang this week.
Well, it was just a bit meh, wasn't it? Don't you think?
Didn't really get my juices flowing like I thought it would. I thought there was some very underwhelming performances, for one. I thought there were one or two really good performances, but as I said, it's left more question marks about a lot of runners than it has answered questions. So if we start then on yesterday, Leopardstown obviously began with Dancing City turning over. One of your all-time notes, John, that I love this. I copy all
the big
John's.
raw fucker.
Yeah, still raw, big raw-looking fucker, has a fair old engine. Took a while to respond to his rider's urgings. He looks fucking mustard.
Yeah, well, he didn't yesterday.
No. I think he was just found out experience-wise as well. I think he still looks clueless, doesn't he?
He's raw, isn't he?
Yeah, you'd say to a degree like Gormy, to an extent. I would certainly say that on that, there's a lot more to come, but as a betting proposition right now, it's not really...
You wouldn't be certain they'd take him to Cheltenham if they're being careful with him, would you?
No. Predator's Gold, I would say, is one... Should we get the cliches in?
Yeah. Here you go.
Embryonic cheese.
Wait till he goes over the big black ones.
Yes, you know the score. Come on to the next race, which is Storm Heart. I don't think he did his Triumph prospects any harm there. I thought he had a shit trip. I thought
it was... He was wide, wasn't he? And
you'd back that to reverse form, wouldn't you, with Carja?
Yes, I would. I'd expect to beat that one in Cheltenham for sure. The one I did like in the race was Magsborough on Stable W.
Yeah, JP's.
Really well.
I'll tell you what, it's got some gait on it, that.
Nice bit of kit, doesn't it?
Triumph's going to be interested, I think, watching that. But the winner, I'm not a fan of, and lesser a fan of the owner, the old honeysuckle owner, Alexander. Well, he's the one that brought in affordability checks. He was behind it before he left Big Corp, and he sat there like larger than life, owning horses while every fucker can't bet.
Well, that's right.
Exactly. Right, the Irish Arkle, another shock, as Marine Nationale, that many, including myself, Blogger must have been on the floor after this, ran like it had a wind up, John.
Oh, needs one.
Yeah, it was all the foot. The head carriage was wrong.
And he wasn't moving good at all. Right the way through the race, I was racking my brains, actually, trying to think I would seen him move before, because I thought, he didn't shift like this now. He looked shuffly somehow. I think we'll probably find he's completely wrong. And now, again, another one I would not be surprised if he ends up missing Cheltenham.
I would say now, he's drifted out to 3-1 for the Arkle. I think it's very difficult now can't really back him on the back of that. Because
we've got 5 weeks to straighten him out and then build him up again. It's tight, isn't it? Take time for him.
Galopin des Champs is just about unbeatable in the Gold Cup. I'd rather be a backer at 4-6 than a layer, John.
I certainly wouldn't lay him. I maybe wouldn't feel comfortable betting 4-6 3-mile toe around there with a decent sized field, because it's a rough house, and I think there'll be better 4-6 blokes, but I wouldn't lay him at 4-6.
I think the race will cut this year, the Gold Cup.
I don't think there's much running for me, to be honest.
I don't think you'll see a big field. I really don't. I think you're going to see quite a small... I think people's had enough of taking that on. And it's like fast or slow, all running it, and there'll be one or two others having a go. But I mean, look at how thumped Jerry Colomb at Christmas. What are they going to do with Jerry Colomb? I mean, it's a long old stretching it out a bit to say that Jerry Colomb will turn that around.
Hans Christian Andersen would have to write that, wouldn't he?
Indeed. That was sort of yesterday summed up. Today's pretty much the same. Didn't really get us going, did it? 2-runner Grade 1 novice chase that, by the way, we're very critical of Jumps Racing over here for producing shit Grade 1 action. And Ireland seem to be outdoing us.
At least when we get a matchup, it's generally 2 different stables.
Well, that's that. That's another thing. So Factor File, very impressive winner. Gaelic Warrior, obviously, from no sort of race whatsoever. Was that down to the track, or was that just down to Gaelic Warrior possibly being a bit equine wankery?
He's run a listless sort of race, and he's fallen. And they've got 5 weeks to straighten him out. He's another one where you could say, might not make Cheltenham.
You'd go back in trip on that. And to be honest, I also wouldn't run left-handed again. There's just no point. I don't see the point. If they've got any sense, but they're not going to win that either, you'd trade him for next year's, maybe King George or something like that. But you're going to run into that frog horse, aren't
you? You'd maybe go a punches down, call it a day for the season, and then think about the King George, I suppose. But it was a gloomy race for the ponytailed one, wasn't it?
Was. His rat's tail needs probably trimming after that. It's bad luck. Right, the Derby Sale Novice Hurdle, Ballyburn. John, I know you love this horse, and I want to get your full write-up here and where you think they will go. Will they go Supreme Novice or will they go Ballymore?
I think he'd be more at ease in the Ballymore, myself. He doesn't look out and out speed. I think it's a stiff old track with fairly testing ground, I thought, today. You get round... I always think Cheltenham was quite nippy, really, because you're never really on an even keel. You get loads of, breather places on the track, and, I think you need a bit more speed round Cheltenham than you do here. And I think the longer race would suit him better because he's got a lovely attitude. Cruises through a race, puts his head down, maybe a bit too far his head down, but, you'd rather have it down there than up in the sky. Yeah, I'd veer towards a longer race, I think.
Is the Ballymore called the Bearing Bingham now?
Yeah.
I'll lose track with this.
It's the old Son of Lions, isn't it?
I'm sort of struggling with old names. So you're saying the Bearing Bingham, which he is now currently, he's been hammered in a way you can probably get 5-2 in places if you shop around, but he's been drastically cut for Bearing Bingham. That'd be your choice of destination, John. What do you make of him physically? Is he your type?
I think he's probably more set than, say, Predator's Gold, that is an embryonic chaser, He'd be more the filled out, finished article, I think, physically.
Yep.
That's not to say he wouldn't go on and have a long career or anything like that, but I just think he's a better put together horse at the minute, And he's the type. He looks as though. Obviously you're second guessing when you don't speak to the trainer, but he looks the type that wouldn't give you any bother at home. Not many niggly little injuries and things. He does everything that's asked of him in a race, and you can imagine him being the same at home. So he's probably a joy to train as well. He'd probably be the one from the meeting that I'd think was the most promising, if you like, the one that sort of gets the blood pumping a bit.
Yeah, as in that's not massively odds on to win at Cheltenham. Yeah, I agree. I think Ballyburn's the one to really get stuck into if you go in anti-purse still, because I do think he is top class. Everyone was bouncing in the 2-mile chase race. Well, everyone that's backed Dino Blue at bigger prices for the mare's chase workers, the result worked out exactly as everyone wanted, where El Fabiolo thumped her. That will certainly mean that any aspirations of Dino Blue turning up in a champion chase are next to zero, John.
Yeah, she'll definitely go for the mares, won't she? No point taking that on again.
No, that's an absolute brute, and obviously, unless there's something astonishing on the day, we'll win the champion chase. So coming on to the Irish champion hurdle, we had State Man with a very impressive performance. And I say very impressive because although Bob Ollinger was second, and you've been very critical of Bob Ollinger for a while now in terms of his well-being and how he's moving, but you saw something different today.
I thought that was the best he's moved for 2 years, actually, and his head was in a better place than it was when he was asked for effort last time. I have a feeling he might not even be there yet, but he might just be coming right. If he is, I think it's maybe more luck than judgment on Dracula's part, but great if he is. The only thing, I don't know where you're aiming, really. Maybe Liverpool, that longer race.
Yeah, I think that was sort of muted afterwards by our darling Rachel. She sort of said that the 2.5 mile trip of the entry hurdle over 2.5 would be perfect.
Templegate hurdle as was.
Yeah, so Bob Ollinger, I think that's the most suitable target for him. Obviously can't win a champion. Not really much point in targeting anything at the festival, so I reckon that's what they'll be thinking right now. Let's think about Aintree. For me, I think State Man was uber impressive today. He thumped them. And do you know what? I would rather take 7-2 about State Man winning a champion hurdle than 1-3 than Constitution Hill. If what I hear is right, and not every snout or contact gets this right, I would say Constitutional, there's a bit to worry about. I am told he's had a wind up, and whether that's going to make any difference, we don't know. If it's bullshit, then it's bullshit. I hold my hands up. But usually my info's pretty shit up, and I would say that I would back the info, and I would rather be on at 7-2. You can tell the way Constitutional's been campaigned this winter, John. All he's not well, or all he's not perfect, because the man, we know he's frightened to run them. It seems extra frightened to run it. No chance. No, we're not going for the Unibet at Cheltenham. No, we're going to pull him out of here at the Fighting Fifth. It's a week after. And
he's one step off putting him in a glass case and charging people to look at him, isn't he? Really?
Pretty much.
Damien Hirst suspended in formaldehyde, like fucking sheep or a shark or something. Yeah. I wouldn't pay to see that anyway.
Yeah. At this stage, if someone said to me now, you have to have a bet, say I would rather take the 7-2 State Man, because he will turn up, thump everything else, and then the only way you don't get paid is if the real Constitutional turns up at Cheltenham, which it might. But 2 in 9, 22% chance of winning the race, I think that represents a shade of value on what I saw today. And feel free to criticise that opinion, but with what I'm told about Constitutional is it ain't positive, I don't think. But there we go, we'll see what happens. Just one thing to finish the review on. I have noted something today, and I am convinced this horse has got a very bright future in front of him, and he might reward people this spring. A horse that ran in Ballyburn's race called Daddy Longlegs. What it is with him, he absolutely pissed up at Thurles when he beat Cletus Pooler on yielding ground. Absolutely pissed up. Since then, he's ran on heavy and didn't jump out the heavy ground at Leopardstown in the Grade 1 at Christmas. And then, for me, the ground was too tacky today. He made mistakes. He was very much looked after by Paddy Mullins in the closing stages, not asked from probably 2 furlongs out after he knew he was beat. And I think you'll see a different horse on good ground this spring.
Yeah,
and
I agree with that.
Now he's had the third run, he'll get the mark, and I think anything around 130 is going to be an absolute steal wherever they target him. I've no idea where they're going to run him. I've no idea what they're going to do. Listen, I think this spring you must keep an eye on Daddy Longlegs when that ground gets back on top, because he will land some bets for that lot. This is a talented horse. He just doesn't go in the slop. They'd be better off target Galway maybe, or something like that, or some summer kind of campaign, because I just get him on the flat. He can run. He ran in a flat race in France, just one start, and he looked good there. Just failed, and he's only racing France on the flat. So knowing that team, I won't be surprised to see him turn out on the flat, but definitely he'll reward people on better ground. Hope you enjoyed the review. We need to crack on because it is a busy show. Plenty of questions, which we will come to now. Richmond, first question of the day. Can we discuss the Screaming Banshee on commentary at the Dublin Racing Festival? Spoils every race. Far better race callers in Ireland who are underused. John?
He got a bit excited, I think, when he backed the winner. But
Do you remember that time when
he cut out?
Everyone thought he'd drop dead in commentary book. Everyone cut out for literally about 10-15 seconds.
It sounded like a severed vocal card, didn't it?
Le Petit Mort. Yes.
I think a commentator should do that. Go out live on air. Bang. Tomer, one day at Edinburgh. Somewhere like that. Like, it's a photo. And then nothing. Drop dead silent.
He'll come back to life.
Then they start playing some somber music When Russia went, president's dead.
Yeah.
It'd be like Norman Collier, wouldn't he? Cutting in and out.
I'm surprised that theatre companies and asked Tomo to, it's Scrooge Christmas Panther. You know, when he takes the 2 pennies off Bob Cratchit's eyes. That's Tomo, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, robbing the pennies off dead people. Yeah. Right.
I always thought it was tailor-made for that role.
Don't give him any ideas. He'll be writing out to all the theatre companies, won't he? Offering his services.
Couple of betting questions. What are some personal rules you try to stick to with your betting, Northern Gamblers? Only thing I can say from experience in recent times is because of affordability checks and the way that I've nearly had my account stole off me on Betfair 3 times, is the fact that it's changed the way I play in terms of no longer can I go big bar blitz and try and smash one out the ballpark like Babe Ruth. It just is what it is. I'm a better player for it, but I don't make as much money if you understand the gist of that. I know that sounds a bit wrong because it's like saying, well, if you're a better player, you should be making more money. No, I'm a better player because I'm more refined and controlled in comparison to the past, where I could easily sort of like blast my way out of trouble or blast big bets on ones I really liked a lot because I wasn't in fear of having to deposit.
It's like when Jimmy White finally learnt some safety shots.
It is. It's like when Jimmy White became Judd Trump.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
It is.
That's good, yeah. That's exactly right.
And to be honest, anyone that's in the professional game still on Betfair, unless you've like Coos Racing Club with 6 figures stuck in there, if you operate a meagre-ish or lesser bank than that, you must be going through the same because you don't want to press deposit. You press deposit and then the old affordability team are sat there in Betfair Towers, the Romanians in Bucharest, ready to spend your account.
Pick your pockets.
Indeed.
Yes.
Indeed. Any betting rules that you have stuck with over time?
Oh, let's cut your bets down if it's a shit trainer or jockey.
Yeah, like you like. In fact, that brings us on to it.
It always upsets you if you've had so much on and it's some dickhead that you knew you shouldn't have backed in the first place.
Yeah, that brings us on to another question, actually. If you fancy a horse strong and it doesn't have the required jockey on, as in a shit jockey that you don't like, what do you do, John?
It can depend on the horse.
Yeah.
Because if it's a fairly straightforward horse that would be ridden reasonably handy around a track that pays to go handy, and your potential for a fuck up is somewhat less than if it's a hold up horse that's going to have to go around the bend and he's going to bury it and he's got a low draw and God help you, So you'd have to take that into account. But there are certain jockeys I'm very shy of. I
mean, Chris, this must apply to you. You love your recreational betting, and you follow Bar Stewart's Edge. You love the old Ashley Carr gambles thing.
Oh yeah, big Kelly Deal mob, mate.
Yeah.
Got one fucking got 2 stone in hand, isn't it?
Yeah, you love all that shit, right?
Yes.
You know when you sometimes bet and you get told to bet something.
Yes.
Do you ever get that feeling if you don't like the jockey, you're like a bit like lukewarm?
Absolutely. You do, whether it's logical or not, you do have a list of jockeys and trainers and combination of the two, which will cause you to maybe have a little bit more on, or more likely sort of significantly reduce your stake. E.g., anything written by Brodie Hampson, you reduce from 10 points to minus 10 points. Because, that standard of jockey, you're fighting an uphill battle. It's hard enough to get anything in the frame, isn't it? Where you've got somebody that you objectively know isn't very good. So, yeah, absolutely. You all have your own personal list. So, and I think John's right. You look at something, the pain of losing, having bet a trainer-jockey combo that you actually hate isn't worth the aggro, is it? You may as well just have a token bet, and if it wins, well, great. But more likely than not, it's going to get chinned if you're right in your judgment.
We've touched on this, and John has touched on this many a time on the flat when he's dealing with Dave Simcock and Jamie Spencer. All John's waiting for is Yarmouth, Ascot, and Doncaster, because Jamie Spencer and Simcock are one-dimensional in what they do, and they're held up out the back, and we know those tracks certainly help accentuate those horses' abilities. Held up, Yarmouth.
If I got a tip for one of his at Beverley over 7, and God himself came up to me and said, "You can have your bollocks on this," I would still have a pretty circumspect bet given what I know was going to happen.
I mean, occasionally they can wrong foot you, can't they? I mean, I think Patrick Veitch made the point in his book years ago that, everybody expected Stuart Williams horses to have the go button sort of, whatever, fourth time out, or whether you got a handicap mark. And the assumption was that anything that a particular yard or set of yards ran in a maiden was sure to be an educational run. And so he used that, preconception to pull off that gamble with, Exponential, didn't he? Second time out, I think. So occasionally you're going to get it wrong.
Again, though, you'd be wary of Stuart Williams, that's because
yes, of course.
Friend of the show.
Yes, he does. Yeah, absolutely. And that's the point, isn't it? But that's the point. So you can sometimes get it wrong, but more often than not, if you're right, you're better off just sticking to those trainers and jockeys.
I mean, a good example would be that thing we had for the Britannia last year. Start of the week, 14-1.
That's right.
We'd have gone max on that, but he's dropped Early Turner up.
Yes.
And in the end, it's probably cost us all money. But
well,
if she got that wrong,
misogynist. John, you're a misogynist.
No, but it's a good point.
This is the same Early Turner that came on Nick Luck after Royal Ascot last year, and Nick Luck asked her the question. This is what you're dealing with, right? And said, Haley, why do you think the jockeys avoided the stands rail when it looked clearly favoured on the last day? And Haley's reasoning was, makes racing fame, really, in quotes. Sometimes horses are like afraid of the crowd and so like to stay off the rail. And fucking...
Yeah. Plus it's muddy and we can get our britches dirty, so we kept them, ridiculous, isn't it?
It's unbelievable. So there you go. Yeah. Good question. Right, Steve Buxton says, when race replays are shown on TV, or say future viewing on racing channels or Racing Post, should Fatal Falls be edited out? John?
My feeling is probably not, because it's part and parcel of it, I'm afraid. And chances are you've seen it live anyway. We're all grown-ups, and people doing research for betting are definitely grown-ups. So I don't see why censorship needs to come into it. If you know one's going to fall fatally, you can always look away.
Dixieland.
Nothing.
It's like you're watching a horror film, and the missus puts her hands over her eyes at certain points.
Nothing to add to that. That's bang on. I find it annoying for research purposes when sometimes they'll delete a fence out that another horse might have made a mistake at or whatever. It's not good for research. I don't need nannying. I know exactly what's happened. Like you say, we're all big boys and girls. But there we go. James Little Polvier, Mullins Bingo. Should trainers be made to declare the best horse in the race if running more than one? What he means is, which is expected to win out of their runners and then explain afterwards. It sounds like James has been backing all the Willie's first string this week.
Paul Townend's up his Christmas card.
Yeah. I think no is the answer to that. It's a straightforward thing, really. Like Andy Richmond rightfully commented on Friday's show, which was crap tipping from us, but Richmond got one thing right, which was Mullins has just got an amazing record here, and secondly, with his second, third, and fourth strings. Because if you remember, most of Mullins owners aren't gambling owners. They're not lining plots up. They're just there to win. So naturally, if some of the fancied runners run below form, he's probably going to pick up the pieces with something else. It's just a scattergun approach, which John's pointed out, things like in the Derby, we had O'Brien running the Derby, running 5 or 6 horses. And of course, you get things like Serpentine winning the Derby, and it ruins the breeding, it ruins everything. And I think they've realised that. I think they finally come to the senses, as Aidan O'Brien in recent times when running the classics, not to run too many, because you don't want Paddy Beggy winning on the 80s perk, getting up in the dying strides. Old Paddy Beggy's thinking, what a payday. And Magnier's cock's gone limp.
It cost Magnier about $40 million.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so didn't get nothing,
so they finally realised that's not the way forward. Nope. But so no is the answer to that. I think it is what it is, and you just have to prepare betting-wise in future that that Willie Mullins' runners will be off, because the big owners, do you think Willie Mullins' owners are going to accept not being off just to let one win? It's not going to happen. So they'll all be off, and that's the thing, and that's why it's happening. Yeah, that's it. You have to adapt your bet.
And his second and third strings would be, most trainers sort of number one in the yard, wouldn't they? You know, such is the depth of talent. I think, you know, most trainers would be happy to have their Mullins' second and third strings in the yard, I'm sure. So, you know, very good horses, all of them, aren't they?
For sure. Milton Harris, Chris, you did an excellent
Sugar Ray Harris.
You did an excellent piece on Barsteward's Patreon this week, which is free to read for all. You don't have to pay us anything for that.
That's how much it's worth. That's all, yeah.
No, it's good.
You wouldn't have the brass neck to charge for that.
No, it's good though. Right, so you've read the fallout from it. So
what's good? Yeah.
Tell the listeners what you think about Milton.
Yeah, I think. I mean, it just comes across as a pretty unpleasant person, and I put it, you know, he's no more sophisticated than that. I mean, after timing massively, but you know, if you've ever seen him interviewed in the past on TV or read anything that Racing Post had done, you know, he sort of gleefully tells people that his father schooled him in the art of dispute resolution with a baseball bat across the knee. So this is a man who is just probably not a very nice bloke. I don't know him, but the transcript or rather the written judgment of the licensing committee kind of said that he was ungovernable. That was the phrase that they kind of bandied around, and you know, and that wasn't just suggestions of inappropriate behaviour with, you know, junior female staff or rather school age female staff, but his financial dealings were, you know, opaque and you know, sort of unsettling in the way he went about business. And, you know, he seemed to have a running vendetta with Simon Earl, didn't he? He sort of seized every opportunity to sort of, you know, offer the guy out. And I think may have even sort of offered to settle their differences Queensbury rules. I mean, you know, that's only one below saying, you know, offering the man out to have a duel at sort of dawn. It's very, very odd behaviour.
At least he wanted some rules.
That is right. You've got to give him that. At least he wanted it, you know, properly regulated. But I don't know. It just, you know, you look at the guy. I mean, he doesn't strike you as a particularly fighting man. I mean, he's got a fucking haircut like Danny LaRue, wouldn't he? Do you remember him with the old fucking boot font? Or Bernie Delfont? Do you remember him? The old theatre impresario. So I don't know whether he was a particularly intimidating character, but to somebody perhaps like Simon Earl, who isn't a fighting fella and frankly just wants to get on and train horses, to have that little cunt driving through your yard every morning giving you the wanker sign, I think at some point you'd be tempted to chuck a brick through his window, wouldn't you, and drag him out. I mean, I think Simon Earl showed remarkable restraint and funnily enough had a winner the other night, I think, a couple of days after the judgment was sort of posted. So maybe that's you know, he's calm, and maybe that's something, you know, lifted from his shoulders. As we all know in life, once some terrible event has sort of been lifted from us, you know, you can see clearly again. So maybe that's good news. Maybe that's the system. Follow Simon Earl horses now that Milton's out of the picture. But my sense was nothing more sophisticated than that. He came across just as a horrible person. And I think for once the BHA have done their job here.
Do you think that possible, and, you know, for litigation purposes, that any sort of sexual harassment has been brushed under the carpet here? The reason I say this is because there's been like 4 complaints from stable staff regarding this.
Yeah, it's tricky. I mean, I do think, I mean, obviously, I don't know the nature of the complaints, and I think some of the complaints were quite rightly anonymised. You know, they didn't find anything, you know, tangible in terms of sexual harassment, but you have to question what was his motives for saying the things he did to staff who are clearly vulnerable and underage. And frankly, whether they're underage or vulnerable is sort of irrelevant. You know, the sense was that they were people who didn't welcome that kind of approach. So I do wonder, you know, they did say that he didn't sort of force his way into staff accommodation. He asked permission, but the whole kind of atmosphere was one of, you know, it'd be very unsettling. I guess you ask yourself, would you want your daughter or wife or sister to work in an environment where the employer is saying those things to them? You know, irrespective of what his motives were, you'd have to wonder why a middle-aged man would say that. And I think we all know why they would. But obviously, I don't think there was any kind of concrete evidence to bridge that gap between suspicion and proof. So I think they had to kind of dance around it. But yeah, I mean, again, it just goes to the atmosphere, just not a very nice bloke.
Now, don't you have your horses trained there? Right, Veach joining up with Tony Bloom to buy expensive yearlings, John. They're taking on the establishment. Do you know what, though? Do you know, my first thought was, this is a shrewd move, and I'll tell you why. Because we are seeing a collapse in our like infrastructure. Saeed Bin Saro's finished, done.
Is he?
Yep,
Is it?
yeah. Bowie's apparently moving into the yard.
All right.
Yep. No more Bin Saro. If you look, Godolphin in the sire rank a bit
Yes,
under pressure. Sheikh Mohammed's got ill health.
Yep.
The Coolmore operation, which has been supremely led by Old Man John for years. Obviously, how long's he got left? Are the incumbents John's sort of offspring as good?
Don't know.
Exactly.
Yep.
This seems a ripe time for wealthy people.
Yeah.
And Tony Bloom will be incredibly wealthy.
Yeah.
With the expertise of somebody like Patrick Veach,
Yeah.
who, by the way, when you look at like something like Keir Jarabchan, who Ammo Racing, he a football agent, and I don't think he's very clever at all. I don't rate his ability to place horses, to understand horses. I just think he's a rich man playing in a rich man's sport, and he's doing okay. Listen, like Veach and Bloom could be a complete dream team.
Rich and clever.
Yes.
Yeah, it would. You wouldn't want to be against.
Well, it's like I said, RE the football, right? Look at the two clubs I think are wonderful football clubs in terms of how they're run. Yeah. Brighton and Hove Albion and Brentford, because they follow a statistical model where Matthew Benham did Brentford, professional gambler. Tony Bloom, professional gambler, did Brighton. They worked out how to sign players cheap and sell them for plenty. And I just think Tony Bloom, as shrewd as he is, knows how good Patrick Veach is and said, right, we'll do this. We can take it to the men. We can take it to the top table. I think they can. I genuinely do.
You wouldn't bet against them, would you? You know, you wouldn't bet against them. And as I think you're right. I think they probably waited for this opportunity. They've seen the big superpowers are in gradual decline, and they probably think, you know what, let's make our move now.
Yeah. John, are you sort of in agreement with that?
What's the overall plan? What are they looking to do? Are they looking to establish a breeding operation?
I think so. Buying expensive yearlings on the flat. So basically, like going against the likes of Magnier and the big bidders, like in the ring.
We might liven the sales up a bit, for sure. Who'll be training for?
Well, that's it.
Not Stuart.
No, Andrew Balding's been in. They've mentioned in the article that the trainers are Andrew Balding, the shirt, and I can't remember the third one, actually.
That's already quite shrewd, isn't it? John, you've got to admit that's quite shrewd. Balding, the shirt.
That's an eye on the future.
Yeah.
Andrew Balding, I think, is an odd one, though. Don't you? I thought that was a bit weird, unless I've missed it.
Balding trains for longevity, and I think that's the thing. Like the problem with Ammo, look at Ammo. Like, they make the headlines, these fast 2-year-olds. None will train on, or few. It's just, let's train the arse off them with the Brazilians, getting them fit at home. I think that was it. I think with Veach and Bloom, there'll be a plan.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. I think it'll be a good one. So I'm keen.
The shirt will be rubbing his hands.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
This is his shot, isn't it? You know, he's the UK's best trainer, without doubt. He hasn't had the mega support that he deserves. So this could be ushering in a new era, couldn't it?
Could.
This is his Ballymacoll moment.
It is.
Yeah.
I wish them well, to be honest. I think they're the good guys. Right, now for some bad things this weekend. Obviously, a lot of complaints regarding the DRF Racing Festival this weekend in terms of how busy it was and the facilities not being able to cope. For example, 55 minutes queuing for a pint, 40 minutes queuing for a piss. And Nick Davis, our own panellist, makes a good point. Our festivals now are no-go for the elderly racegoers, John, if you're not in the top facilities.
40 minutes for a piss, and if you're over 50, you're struggling not to piss yourself for start.
This is an opportunity for Tenor Man to get some fucking free pants in. Yeah, maybe that could be our
sponsor,
chums. Tenor Man.
Well, what's them Starmer bag? You could have a bag on, couldn't you?
Yeah, you could do. Yeah, catheter or whatever. No, it's horrible, isn't it? I mean, Christ, about elderly race guys. I mean, who wants to wait 40 minutes?
That's what I had to do the last time I wanted a big shit at Cheltenham. I really did need a big shit. I paid a £5 for the.
Yeah, the fucking water table went up 12 feet there that year.
What makes you laugh is they're still queuing at a £5. I was about 7th in line.
I wouldn't want to be number 8 in that queue. Christ.
Yeah, I did say when I left, I said, you've had some bad luck there.
Fucking, I'd give that 3 hours if I were you, mate.
Bad, that one. Sandown yesterday, Saturday, I was disturbed on 2 counts, right? First of all, the clock watered down the back, but then after researching, maybe it wasn't too bad. Sandown is a quick drying track. John, what did you think about the watering at Sandown?
The reports leading up to that meeting were saying it was drying out and it was going to be that horrible, dead, claggy stuff, which I don't think anybody likes. So I could see why he did it. I don't think anything ran particularly surprisingly bad races. I think the Sam Thomas horse, Ed something, that dropped out the back of the telly, but I think that bounced after Cheltenham. Yeah. I don't think you can blame any watering for anything funny going on. So, I'm glad to let it go, to be honest.
This from James Devlin, I think, is quite damning in the state of the game. And if people don't wake up, we're all fucked. I was at Sandown yesterday doing my bets on the tote, on the track. I had to sign a form and prove ID and have every bet reference written down as I turned over £2,000 and a small profit. Every bet after it had to be recorded. Apparently this was for money laundering, which is funny as he's a finance director.
For £2,000, money laundering, fucking now.
Yeah.
Mickey Mouse.
Well, you got to walk away, haven't you?
Was it proceeds of a sweet shop robbery for £2,000? I mean, Christ. They're just using any excuse now, aren't they, to stop people doing what they want to do.
You've got to walk away from that, haven't you? You can't give them the business.
Totally right. Exactly. You have to say, you know what, stick it up your arse. For £2,000, it's not like the guy's having 200 grand, turning over 200 grand an afternoon.
He must have had an alternative way of getting on. I mean, if you've got his phone with him, you can get on Betfair, surely, or whatever.
This is black market territory now. The black market need to step up and kick these people in the balls, don't they? And show them, because the GC don't believe it. That fool Carolyn Harris said, it's massively overstated. Have you seen the sight of her lately? She's got fucking Timmy Malik glasses. I mean, how, there's an old rule. If you want to be taken seriously, look serious. And these people don't even do punters the courtesy of looking serious now. So now's the time. Everybody find black market alternatives that are credible, that do pay you, and there will be ones out there, and fuck off everybody in the UK now.
Yeah. God odds, if you're listening,
God odds. Step up. Step up. This is your time. Let's go to Curacao. Come on. Pay for our tickets out there, and we'll go to Curacao. Because, joking aside, that's the only way to teach these people a lesson. They've said that the black market's overstated. We'll prove them wrong. Because for £2,000 referencing bets, and it's nonsense. Absolute rubbish.
When people say we'd sell out, right? I'd sell out to a black market operation and promote it as a podcast.
I think so. Joking aside, we wouldn't say, but for that kind of thing, because if it's a credible alternative, and obviously people got to get paid. Yeah. It has to be a legitimate, in quotes, black market operator. But there is an opportunity for any bookmaker out there that doesn't want to, doesn't have to sort of subject punters to these intrusive checks and all this nonsense. They could absolutely clean up, because I guarantee a pod like us and a few others give that a push. They'll be printing their own money.
Yeah, on affordability, the good news is that this is going to get kicked into the long grass after the election, which will be in the autumn of this year. That's good news, because Labour are obviously likely to get in after the debacle of the Tories in recent times. So Labour will have more pressing issues as well.
Well, Labour don't want to do anything, do they?
In their first 3 months. We've got some rope in terms of...
We've got some wiggle room, haven't we? I think we're there until next year.
It won't progress until at least, I would say, halfway through 2025. We can kick it into the long grass.
We'll all be with God odds by then. We'll be like affiliate marketeers with links everywhere. God odds.
Right, Chris, John, well, come on. If you want to smoke, you'll smoke. If you want to drink, you'll drink.
Yeah,
and there's no one we'll moonshine and get the drinks, and we'll make our own fags.
Mad. All kinds of prohibition tells you that it doesn't work. What happened to the war on drugs? How's that getting on?
Yeah.
It's nonsense. Yeah. People will do what they want to do. Irrespective of what government says and what rules they put in, but they will find a way to spend their money how they want. And all of the only people that benefit from this kind of prohibition, etc., are administrators and bureaucrats who get paid. Yeah, quangos. They're the only ones that benefit, and all these initiatives are doomed to failure. They know that they have absolutely no prospect of reducing gambling harm, because people want to gamble, and some people won't be very good at it, and some people will lose their lives and livelihoods as a result of it. That's life. that will always happen, and that has always happened.
Indeed. Yeah. Does racing need someone like Barry Hearn to take charge and sort it out, John? Would he be a good choice, says Jolly86?
He'd be a terrible choice because he doesn't know enough about racing, but that type of personality is exactly what's wanted.
Yeah.
Go with that.
I mean, that's it, isn't it? He's kept snooker going, which was dying. Darts is transformed. It's selling out arenas. Again, the way they do things, the Hearn and the Matchroom team are just different class. They've excelled in boxing, snooker, darts.
You're talking about snooker and darts that really, well, to my mind anyway, don't hold a candle to racing.
No.
So when you say what they've done with that, you want that kind of impresario mentality. I would want him because he doesn't know enough about it.
No, you're right, but your personality's right. You want someone to say, I've heard your views, but we're going to fucking do it this way, rather than this management by consensus, which, ultimately, what is it? The camel is a drama.
Which is not as where we are.
Correct, exactly. So you want someone to say, really interesting, I take on board your views, I've included them, but actually this is the direction we're going to take, and we're going to do it because I'm in charge, and you're not. Yeah. And I think that kind of clarity is needed. But John's right. He isn't the right person, but someone with, his kind of attributes, I think.
Shocks has been on. He says, John, our fences too soft.
No.
You'd have no fences.
The problem is now, we're so far down the appeasement road with the RSPCA, Animal Aid, PETA, or whatever the hell they call themselves. It's the optics of saying we're making the fences stiffer. How's that going to go down? We've gone too far down the road of, well, make this easier, we're going to make that easier. Well, that's too far, we'll shorten that race. We'll make these fences softer. Then all of a sudden, we're going to make one fences somewhere harder. Oh, no. Won't wash, I'm afraid.
No, it's doomed. National Hunt racing is doomed, isn't it, in the medium term? I can't.
It's had it. We haven't defended it properly to start with, so it's...
Yeah, unlike Spaniards with bullfighting, and they just tell everyone to fuck off.
Yeah, it's culture, mate.
Exactly.
Fucking culture.
Exactly.
Yeah, not sports, culture.
They have bulls running through streets in that yearly bull run.
Yeah, they chuck fucking donkeys off church roofs, so we'll take no.
Yeah, into a fucking bucket of water.
Yeah, we'll take no advice, no sort of lessons on animal welfare from the fucking Spanish. Thank you very much. We'll get all Daily Mail now.
Right, so racing TV prices have rise from £24.98 to £29.98. Racing TV have put their prices up. Now, following racing is rather expensive because if you're to do it properly as a phone book man and take an interest in it, I've added up some basic costs. At £31 for a basic Sky package, that'll get you ATR, right? $29.98 for racing TV. If you haven't got the cash to pay annually for the racing post, it's £50 a month online. And if you like the luxury of Timeform as well for a second opinion and different kinds of analysis, which are useful and useful to me, that package comes to £140.98 to follow racing properly a month, John. Considering that MPs are discussing affordability checks for £125 a month spend before a check is allowed, it costs more to follow it.
They should be stopping you following it, never mind betting on it.
£140.98 to follow the sport properly. This is scandalous. We're all just sat here like turkeys at Thanksgiving and Christmas, are we not?
Well, this is where the BHA missed a trick again, isn't it, really? Because they've got every result on their website. If they added in the facility to make notes and racing replays, what a difference would that make? For start, and then give you access to all the handicap rating changes on a Tuesday straight away.
Yeah. And to be fair, the BHA have made improvements on this, and they have been giving the public more access.
It's a long way off where you want to be.
Yeah, but it's still miles off. I mean, you could sit at BHA in a meeting and you say, right, what is your programme to generate funds for prize money? Well, we need turnover. Well, how do you get turnover when to read the form of anything costs you a fucking arm and a leg? How are you going to introduce people into the sport if...
You've got to make that information accessible.
But they don't want that, though, do they? They don't want clued up followers.
No,
that's not what the strategy is. It's lads, only have a few quid on, number of corners, number of fucking jockeys' colours. They don't want smart people at all.
Which is sad because, I mean, we talk about the old guard in this game and how they set up to racing over the years and how smart the old guard is. Chris has said on this show many a time about how we should market to the old people.
Yeah, the grey pound.
Disposable money to spend. The youngsters, it's basically like the point. How many youngsters can follow this game properly?
No.
I would say, as a betting professional, that's the minimum you need, to work. Right, so which is a basic Sky package, racing TV, racing post, and Timeform, £140.98 a month. I'm sorry, that's a lot of money to young folk, and that is the minimum. If you haven't got that, and all right, you can knock off Timeform, say, well, fuck Timeform. Then it's still £110.98.
It doesn't matter because, I mean, these days, half of them can hardly pay their rent.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Cost of living, etc., etc. I'm sorry, racing has got it completely wrong, completely out of touch with its audience. And that's the BHA's fault. They're the rulers. And I'm afraid this is the path that we are treading. Jockey, trainer, bookmaker, ambassadors. Why it's 2024. Do you know what? I agree with this because in some ways, there was I think someone pointed out a Rachel Blackmore horse that was sponsored, but is it Paddy's that sponsor or Betfair someone or Unibet or I can't remember. But anyway, it was 2 points clear biggest of any other bookmakers, and they're the ambassador of that bookmakers. But then again, John, back in the day, they didn't have ambassadors; they just had no lose accounts and card markers, didn't they?
Yeah.
So it makes a difference. They just do it behind closed. Now they can do it as a tax write-off.
It's just not darling now because they're just waggling it under your nose.
Yeah, tax write-off. It's an employee. It's costing us money. Yeah, tax write-off.
Yeah, ghost-written blogs and all that rubbish. And,
but really, get the car marked. And rumours are, I'm not going to say too much on this, but Paddy's have got a nice deal with Ruby Walt on the Mullins yard. So look at the Paddy's prices on any Willie Mullins runner if they're ducking anything or keen to be laying one of Mullins's. I would say Paddy's is the right book to look at.
I mean, it always used to be. They used to be the same as sort of Ladbrokes had various ins to certain yards. You know, you can tell, can't you, if they want to be against something or want to be with something. So, but that makes sense, doesn't it?
Tom Eves, John, Alexander James. A lot of controversy over the ride at Newcastle this week. I watched it, and I've watched it 2 or 3 times. I don't know why, because maybe I'm an idiot to watch it 2 or 3 times. I am, actually. I didn't see much wrong. I'm sorry if that's controversial.
Okay, well, probably maybe I watched it a few more times than you, actually. I'll just make a few points about this. Now, for a start, this is a fair sort of horse. He's hit the framing about a third of his runs. You know, maybe not so good of late since he changed stables, but overall, he's hit the framing about a third of his runs. For all his wins, he was ridden handy. However, his first start for this trainer, and Tom rode him, he was keen. And since then, every race for this trainer, he's been
Which trainer is?
Okay. Tom's ridden...
Harrington.
Yeah. Tom's ridden in all races since except one. Jimmy Sullivan rode it and he dropped out as well. So we can assume these are the tactics. They almost came off the time before last. He ran out in the second. As I said, it's probably a stable downgrade. He's gone from Appleby to Harrington. So it's understandable if they're wanting to get him settled and handicap him at the same time and get a few pound off. That's understandable, you know. I mean, if you don't get the breaks, you're going to come down a couple of pound. Tom's kept the ride, so you'd have to assume the trainer and owner are happy. If he was acting independently there, he'd come in after a couple of goes doing that, and you'd say, well, that's your fucking lot, son, wouldn't you? Now, the race itself, he's jumped off as usual, well back. He's had a high enough draw, so he's gone over to the rail, and almost immediately he's found himself pocketed. He's still pocketed coming to the 2-pole, and you could see why punters would want him to switch off the fence, but there was one in a brown hat outside him that was going equally well, and probably 3/4 of a length up on him, and he'd have to take back to go around that, and he's coming to the 2-pole anyway. It's a decent-sized field. Going round the field wouldn't have been a preferred option at all.
Not with the wind.
Yeah, so basically he's ridden for luck. He's not had a scrap of luck as regards things opening up, which has made him look a cunt. Simple as that. By the time he got some racing, we'd got about half a furlong to go. He's gone straight into the stewards with his explanation, which shows on the post-race result. I don't see what the stewards could have done with that at all. I know everybody was screaming and saying he should have got 6 months and all the rest of it. I do not say what they could have said to him.
Let us know when it's off. Yeah.
Why do you take back 4 furlongs out and get wider? You know? But he'd have been trying to maybe lighten the arse up and not yet know. Because he was travelling lovely, and that's what they tell him to do these days. You see, the problem here is what's taught to these lads now about settling horses. None of them seem capable of settling a keen goer without dropping them out and ramming up other horses' asses. You go back to the mid to late 80s, the Carthen era, most of the top jocks could settle them anywhere. They were better at it. Graduates of the racing school groupthink, they're obsessed with cover. More often than not, it causes trouble looking for cover, you know? You go back to the Piggott days, how many of his Derby winners had cover? Or were they just on the outside turning round Tattenham Corner with plenty of daylight?
Yeah.
Didn't bury many round there, did he? You know, they don't bury them at home to get the best out of them when they're working. There's this groupthink mentality that's come through from the racing schools, and it's a lack of ability on the side of jockeys that they have to lock them up to get them settled.
Fair enough. Great comment. I just genuinely think that Tom is not arsed. I mean, I'm not saying he doesn't stop them for handicap. They all do. What I'm saying is I don't think there was anything hooky. It was just how it was. There was, honestly, if it had stayed where he was, he wouldn't have got a gap anyway. At any point. Like you say, I just think it was exaggerated. It is what it is. It might not have been off. I mean, that's the thing. It probably wasn't. I don't know. But I'd no financial involvement. But it's one of them that I think to definitely say that that's like mega bent. Just keep your eye on it and just that's the game of punting, isn't it? You know for a fact you back horses that aren't off. Just keep your eye on them.
Well, the horse is in good fettle. It finished its race off lovely. If you get it in a race same course and distance and there's going to be searing pace on, you've got half a chance, haven't you?
Indeed. We're going to finish the show on a funny note, because we always do, because you love it. You love this bit. It's funny. Racing celebrity matchups. And before I want to start this, I want to send a big rest in peace to Apollo Creed, Carl Weathers. It affected me yesterday. You know, people might say, what are you on about? Big part of everyone's life at our age, you know, watching Rockies and there is no tomorrow. Carl Weathers, he got Predator fucked him. Ivan Drago fucked him.
Happy Gilmore knocked his hand off and then fucked him.
He ended up fucked, didn't he? Totally fucked. Poor bugger.
Yeah, every film he did. And finally he's gone to the real sky. And it's sad, but also fond. So I thought, let's have some racing celebrity matches.
To honour his memory.
Wrestling or boxing, however you want to envisage it. And I thought of some. Let's kick us off with a few of these. Peter Chapelain versus Paul Nicholls. Yeah. Peter Chapelain's sober, of course, and Paul Nicholls. What we saying? John?
Do you think there'd be a different outcome, Peter Chapelain sober against Peter Chapelain just enough to get aggressive?
Maybe not.
Yeah, right.
Actually, yeah, being pissed might help him.
Well, Pete spent quite a few years fighting Jane off, didn't he? So I think I'd slightly have Pete in front, to be honest. Maybe 5 to 6 even.
I've got a feeling though Nicholls would be a real nasty fucker. I don't know.
He'd be a biter, I reckon.
Yeah. So one of the girls' matchups I had in mind, and I had like one of these like Usyk Joshua Fury things. You'd start off with Kellaway against Alice Haynes. Alice Haynes, I've heard, is real nasty, a bit real fucker.
Yeah.
But as we know, Kellaway, she'd fight blokes.
Yeah.
And that'd be an absolute war.
Really tear up that, wouldn't it?
Yeah, a total tear up. Now you've got Leona Mayer. Leona Mayer against one. I mean, this is someone that takes no prisoners. A sort of humble upbringing, pottery.
Yeah.
You know,
like streets of Cobridge or wherever. Near
main streets of Philly.
Absolutely no fucking about here.
Yeah.
Winner of that meets Mayer, and I reckon after that, whoever wins in Haynes and Kellaway against Mayer fight Adele Renan John. Isn't she a black belt in?
I think she'd be a bit MMA, wouldn't she?
Jesus.
Go through other celebrity matchups, right? So let's go for like racing media.
Yes.
We've got friend of the show, Chris Poole, who's fantastic. Great guy. Right. James Knight, how do we bet on that? Poole against Knight.
I think Chris Paul. I wouldn't embarrass myself, but you're going to have to price it because someone will come and say, "Oh, your percentage, you're betting to 2 million%." So I'll stand away from giving the price, but I think I'd make Chris Paul a pretty good, solid favourite for that. I think that would be my sense.
I wouldn't price up till after the event, and then Chris would go in.
Yeah, it was obvious. Paul, it was obvious Knight was going to kick his teeth down his throat. Yeah, fucking old man getting bashed up.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, Knight was a certainty. Any cunt could have told you that.
I'm 6 on Poole, 7-2 Knight on that one.
Oh, that's. Ooh, I don't know. Knight's a bit of value there.
It could be. I mean, he could be a right nasty cunt.
Yeah.
I mean,
You've made a real pilot.
Right.
It's now even.
Right.
Too late. Yeah.
So we go further into media. Have we any media challenges you'd like to see? I mean, right. Do you know what I thought a realistic challenge? Because I think Calvin had Rinch Yates. He's in a ring. Or
yeah,
whatever.
I think so. Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Rugby man. I thought about Calvin against Blogger.
That'd be a good one. Yeah. That could be quite an interesting one, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
what kind of would you have? Three rules or no rules at all? How would you? What would you suggest for that?
A good ruck and like MMA, do out really can punch and
like Ukrainian no rules, fucking bare knuckle shit in a car park in Gdansk or something else.
When Butterbean gets him in an headlock, and won't let go,
Fucking rubbish. You can have that. Someone at Sky's looking at, that's not a bad idea. We'll charge £30 a month for that.
Well, this is racing celebrity matchups. And I genuinely think that this could catch on. I think we could dream matchups. We could do an OAP one. Oh, we could actually, because obviously we're all about equality and diversity.
Yeah.
We could do Ty Licky against Howard.
Oh, Christ almighty. There goes your apple cream.
Well, no, it's fair game. It's like you just sit them there and give them lightsabers or something. And
fucking hell. Oh, Christ almighty.
Right, come on, guys, give me some ideas. There must be some tremendous racing celebrity matchup you'd like.
Well, you got to put Milton Harris up against someone, haven't you? And someone once told me that National Hunt trainer Alan Jones, he has 2 winners a year, doesn't he? 33s to evens somewhere at Foss Laffy. Someone told me once that he could have a fight. So I think Alan Jones versus Milton Harris will be a good one. And you'd make Alan Jones a strong favourite.
Yeah, I think we'd like to see that. That'd be quite good. Because, you said in your article, you reckon if someone had given Milton a good hiding earlier on, then he wouldn't have been as like...
Or even stood up to him, I think, and said, look, fuck off, But I think he was the sense I got was that he was one of the characters that if he offered no resistance and he kind of backed down, he saw kindness or conciliation as weakness. So I think someone needed to stand up to him, and I think that would have solved a lot of problems for Simon Earl.
Yeah.
I think I'd like to see Nasty Jim against Eddie O'Grady.
Yeah, that'd be good.
After Eddie O'Grady just landed a touch and Nasty Jim said, "You dosed that up, you fucker."
David Barron, you've got to have him as having a fight with someone. He's a horrible bastard.
Apparently. Oh, yeah. I always remember David Barron's rules working for the Yard. David Barron was the tightest info yard in the country. And he said to employees, if you fucking say anything to anyone, I will sack you on the spot.
Yeah.
Nothing gets out of this yard. Nothing. On anything they've got.
Good.
Yeah. That's how he was. He was a tough taskmaster. You don't tell your friend, you tell no one. Nothing.
Yeah. Fair enough.
You'll be looked after. And that
they were nifty. They were nifty at that time, weren't they? They were really, really good. There was that one period, they would get in touch after touch. So fair play to him. So we don't want to pitch him against somebody.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think who.
Right.
Matt Chapman, because he tells every fucker.
Right, who would you pitch Matt Chapman in with? Celebrity match, a fair match that you'd like to see.
Marvin Hagler. A peak Marvin Hagler. A peak Marvin Hagler.
Yeah, 20 seconds.
Babe Ruth.
The marvellous one. Fuck me, his head's come off. Yeah, boom.
Right, I think we've done this to death, but you get the gist. Yeah. What are your racing celebrity matchups? Get in touch with us on Twitter and give us some fun, because we've obviously done this on the hip and we've not researched this, but certainly there could be some tremendous racing celebrity matchups. We've given you the girls, we've given you the media ones, we've given you the trainers. Who would be your favourites? We hope you've enjoyed this show. That's all from me, John and Chris. We've had a fabulous time. Bye for now.